my father told me when I was very young, focus on things which are under your control. And this is all you will get. Don't ask for anything more. Don't say that, if I have a Chinese coach, a Japanese racket, and some other infrastructure, what they have in Europe, you will not get any of these. This is all you have, yet you have to be the best in the world. I started playing at the age of 7, way back in 1962. That time, badminton was not popular at all in the southern part of India. It was played only in the west, north and east. There was another sport called ball badminton, which was very popular in the south. And it was an outdoor sport played with a yellow woolen ball with 5 players on each side. So nobody knew about badminton. So you had to specifically say it was shuttle badminton. If you just said badminton, it meant ball badminton. So that was how popular badminton was in the south in the 60s. So one has to realize that context that I started playing. My father was the one who, he was the administrator. He formed the first state badminton association called Mysore before Karnataka. So he was the first coach. He taught me and some of my other friends in a small club in, it was basically a marriage hall. So it used to be booked for marriages 6 months in a year. So when it was, there were no weddings, then we could go and play there. The choice was either you do that or there's nothing else. So you had no third option. But, I just started playing not with the intention of becoming a champion. I think my father used to go and play just for fitness. He used to come back late, and one of the advantages was, it being an indoor sport, you could play a little late in the night even after it got dark. So he would come back from work, and then, we'd go along with him at 6 o'clock. And so that's how started, watching, and then got interested in the sport at the age of 7. Then some of the other state players were playing there in the same hall. So just, picked up watching the game. So, at that time, absolutely no idea that, I'll go on to play. It was more for the love of it. And, the first day I played, I just started enjoying. And there were no goals, there were no ambition, there were no aims. Just enjoy the sport. So, it was only much later, at the age of 15, when I won the national junior and senior, that I realized that maybe, if I put in a little more effort, I probably had that something extra that I could try to play professionally and make a mark at the national and international level. As a 16-year-old, I won both the senior and the junior national championships together. At that time, unlike now, both the championships were played together on the same dates. Now, it's played in different times. Within a span of 1 week, I played in 4 events: men's singles, men's doubles, boys singles, and boys doubles. And won both the men's singles and the boys singles, and I think was runner-up in the boys doubles. That's where the journey began, way back in 1971. When we talk of Indian history, we talk of independence, 1947, pre-independence and post-independence. So I always compare 1980, if you talk of Indian badminton, you can say 1980 was the hallmark, like it was pre-1980 and post-1980. Before 1980, badminton was popular, was being played, but it was, I would call, a minority sport. Like any other, there was not much coverage. Nobody knew what badminton was. Only the players who played knew, their parents knew. There were not many facilities. There was not much coverage. There was not much money. There was not much international exposure. Nobody knew who the players were. But post 1980, all that changed. Whatever was, not there, I think we started, it became a major sport. Maybe it was probably in the top 5, after football, hockey, cricket, tennis. People started following badminton, since I started doing well. I think for any sport, it requires, one player from the country to, if they are on the top, that sport automatically gets more coverage, because people start following. Then it's up to the federation, the governments, and the other people to take it to the next level, to make it more popular. Coming from a middle class family, I had a good job. I was with the bank. When I won the Commonwealth Games in '78, I got a promotion. '80, when I won a the All England, I got another promotion. So I was very senior. So my parents, being from the traditional, family, they say, you got such a good job, you can probably, do very well, rise in the, in the bank, secure government job. So why do you want to give up that? And initially it was a 1-year contract. So they said, what will you do if they don't renew? So I said, no, I have to take a chance. There's, if I want to remain on the top, uh, because badminton was still, in its very early stages here, there were not enough facilities, and after I reached a certain stage, I had to move out because it was not developed as it is now. So it was no way it was possible to remain here and become a professional. And there were a lot of issues, like who would do all my, travel arrangements, because for every time we had to go to Delhi for visas, tickets, half my time would be taken away, from these things. There were no agencies at that time to manage people, manage players. So everything I had to do myself. So I moved to Denmark. So I had a full-time manager at that time. I paid him, from my earnings, and he enabled me to, got me a contract there. So stayed there for 6 years. But that was a big risk I took, which my parents were not at all in favor of. I had won 9 years in a row. The 10th year I was not keen to play because I'd just gone to Denmark. But my parents insisted, no, you make it 10 in a row and then you can stop playing the. So I came and then lost to him because he was just coming up at that time. If I were to say, with one of your saddest moments, or I would say that as one of my sad. But victories, they're all part of player's career. You need to learn to deal with that. But the interesting part was this was in January '81. And just 2 months later, I went back, I found out, what I required. I worked hard, got the assistance of a physical trainer. And within 2 months, I reached the finals of the All England again. If you don't lose, you will never learn. So it's always, all the great athletes, I think they've always said that they've learned a lot from every defeat. If you try to analyze properly and to make sure that you don't repeat the same mistakes again. I think that's the hallmark of great athletes. Rudy was, I think he's probably the best badminton player the world has ever seen. I would consider him the greatest badminton player the world has seen so far. He's been my idol right from the beginning. He was a few years older than me, so I won't, put him in the same generation as me. But limb speaking was my time. Morten Frost maybe 5 years younger than me, so 5-6 years younger than me. But I think I've had great rivalries, especially with limb speaking and Morten Frost in particular. I tried to model my game on Rudy's style. Until then, it was more of technique or style-oriented badminton. He was the one who brought the physical parameters into the game. He developed some, half smashes and the dribbles, which were not there. New strokes, at least, from whatever I saw. Because I had seen only the Indian players play in the 60s and maybe early 70s. So his game was totally different. His was very attacking. It was style was there, but at the same time, a lot of other, speed. He brought power, he brought stamina. Which was not the forte of the Indian players before that. At 15, 16, I realized that if you have to make a mark at the top, then I had to focus a little more on my physical strength also. Like if you're good only in your game, it was not enough. You can be the national champion, but no way you can go further. So I tried to the extent possible, whatever I knew, I tried to include physical fitness. So I was probably one of the fittest players in those days, in the 70s and 80s. Otherwise, there was no way I could have survived, for that long, at that level. But I think the turning point in my career was also the 6-week training stint in Indonesia. That's when I actually realized how important fitness was. So I was there for 6 weeks with Syed Modi. We went there to train with the national team. So that's when we realized how much time they were spending on fitness. So I noted down all the things which they were doing. Separate sessions only for physical training. Like for close to 1.5 to 2 hours a day, every day for 6 days in a week. And maybe you would play badminton for 3 hours or whatever, with rest of course. But earlier we were playing maybe half an hour of physical fitness, run 6 rounds or 8 rounds of the ground. That was it. Okay, I'm doing some training, and then you go and play. So that was probably enough to play at the national level. So then I noted on what all they were doing, different things to improve different parameters. Now it looks, everybody knows, like You had to do long distance running for endurance. You had to do sprints and some different kinds of running for improving your endurance. To do skipping to improve your footwork. A lot of exercises on the court. So I realized all that and then came back and followed exactly the same physical fitness exercises, and that immediately gave results at the international level. I had the popular support of all the players, because the same set of officials were there for a long time. We tried to work with them. Nothing much was happening. They were not doing anything themselves and they were not letting anybody else do anything. This is we can't do, how can you do? Nobody had the guts to stand up. We tried to work with them. They were very stubborn. They just didn't want any changes. So that's when all the players got together and few of the officials, we said we'll start a parallel association. So there probably it was very short-lived, maybe for 3 months or 6 months. There was a lot of politics. You realize once you start the association, what it is exactly like. How. So it's not just the development of the sport. It's not just you had so many ideas you want to. Even everybody in the state associations. Everybody is not there for the same reason. But then we had an understanding. All the old guard were there for, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 years. All three of them resigned. A new set of people came in. Then I became the president of the. I didn't want to be, but they asked, you have to head the federation. I said initially I'll be there only for a year. I'll put some systems in place and then I will go out. I think I had to be there for about 2 years or 3 years, and then I resigned and put systems in place and let the others run the. But again, that I think was was another turning point for Indian badminton. It is 80 for the first one. This was the second turning point, and since then we've not looked back. Within 2-3 years, we started doing well in the Commonwealth Games. In 2001, Gopi won the All England. Otherwise, just for 10 years or 20 years between 1980 when I won and 2001 when Gopi won the All England, there was nothing significant. Nothing happened in Indian badminton, even though there was a lot of talent. Most people were saying that from 80 to 2001, we had to wait for 21 years for one All England champion. So people were saying that I hope we don't have to wait for another 21 years. Luckily, that has not happened. After he retired from the sport, he brought up land from the government. He set up his own academy there. Gopi setting up the academy, I think, also was a major initiative, or one of the major things which has helped Indian badminton grow. We picked up players from rural areas, from people who couldn't afford, basically, but who had the willingness to work hard. So it was a completely sponsored, they didn't have to pay anything when they got into the academy. These two academies were not there. I doubt if, all the people would have got the right opportunities. Both Sindhu and Saina have played a major part in the resurgence of Indian badminton. They have been mainly responsible with their performances. Of course, the Srikanth and Prannoy, Sai Pranit, they've all contributed. But I think it's mainly the two girls, Saina earlier and now Sindhu. I think they've been a real superstars. There was a time when Indian players were scared of Chinese. Generally, when you see the draw comes out, the players would see first round Chinese, okay, finished. It doesn't matter what kind of some name, just the China is there. I don't think I can go beyond that. So things have completely changed now. This is probably the other way around. I think probably it's come a full circle, and then Chinese probably will see now, oh, the Indian player was finished. I can't go beyond. So we are no longer scared of the Chinese. Or anybody, whether it is the Danes or the Koreans. Of course, we are on par with them, but we are not scared of any country. We are not scared of any player as such, because we've beaten all the players all the time. It's just a question of trying to be consistent, trying to beat them in the important events like the Olympics, the World Championships, the All England. We need at least 25 or 30 or 50 academies like ours, in all over. Let's say to begin with, maybe one in each zone, 5 zones. East, West, North, South and Northeast. There's a lot of talent in the Northeast. Then probably percolate down to the state association, at least 30 or 35 states. If we have in each of these, but not just for the namesake, you have to choose the right people, you have to, have the because there's definitely no dearth of talent, and most of the talent nowadays is coming from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. If they don't come up, it is due to lack of opportunities, lack of facilities. Basically, nowadays you need to have full-time people. Like if you can't be working somewhere and I'll spend in the evening when I come, I'll train and produce a world champion. That's not going to happen. It's become like any other occupation, any other job. So you have to be full time. Whether it is your trainers, whether it's your physios, the support staff. Everybody has to be involved full time in this. It cannot be. It no longer can be a part time. I'm working in a government department or in a private thing. Evening I'll come home, spend 2 hours. No, it's not going to happen. If you're looking at producing Olympic champions, people have to be involved in the sport full time. They have to spend 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. Both the players and the coaches and the support staff. It has to be a full time job. So I think we need to focus more on more important tournaments in a calendar year. Say All England in March, World Championships in July, August, then the Olympics once in 4 years, and the Super Series finals in December. So if we were to shortlist and try to focus and win these important events, I think that will make a big difference. It's not the same. You might win the Indonesian Open, you might win the Hong Kong Open, you might win all the Super Series. I'm not trying to underplay or downplay the achievements, but I think the focus now should be to win the most important ones. The All England, the prestigious ones, and I think that can make a big difference again for Indian badminton. Suppose we win the Olympic, of course we won a silver, but if we can get the Olympic gold, we win the All England, you win the World Championships. Not number 2. I'm not talking of number 2. We are looking at number 1. The Indians can win. Of course, it will happen initially, only in the singles, because doubles, I think we have some way to go. I think that's what we should be. I've never regretted for anything, because that way you can keep hoping for so many things. So you have to take life as it comes. Whatever was there, I have absolutely no regrets about anything. I've always taken it very positively. Never thought of anything negative. Always. In my career, in my life, always think very positive. Whatever is there, this is there. I remember, in fact, my father told me when I was very young that, this is all you have, like the wedding hall or whatever. So focus on things which are under your control, and this is all you will get. Don't ask for anything more. Don't say that, if I have the Indonesian, what facilities they have, a Chinese coach, a Japanese racket, and some other infrastructure, what they have in Europe. You will not get any of these. This is all you have, yet you have to be the best in the world.